we must all suffer from one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons.
Oh, wow.
And so that is one of my favorite quotes because, especially when I'm thinking, oh, I don't feel like, and listen, we always don't feel like doing
Yep.
something. We don't want to, sitting in front of the TV with some fries and a burger in my lap is the ultimate not doing anything, don't want to do
Yeah.
anything, leave me alone. But I would think about all the things that I have to get done, whether in my personal life, in my business, for my health, whatever those are. And I think about the discipline it takes to do it. The discipline it took to do 90 days of juicing. Let me tell
Yeah.
you,
Can I have it all? Can I have success without the stress and toxic relationships? Here's your chance to get some insight, some advice, some real girl talk, and sometimes real man talk on how to be the boss, whether it's boardroom, bedroom, or when you're trying to find the time to access your bliss. Let's do it.
I'm so thrilled to welcome today Nicole Barham, who is, I would say, just an amazing woman, just all around holistic lady boss. She's a CFO and business strategist who helps entrepreneurs to manage their finances and to grow their businesses to multiple six figures and beyond. Nicole has been featured on Good Morning America. She's been featured on The Breakfast Club, in Time, and Black Enterprise. She's also the founder and creator of 5 Minute Bookkeeper, a product that I am now getting to start using. And let me tell you, can't wait to help myself out with my money for my business. So
well,
I'm thrilled to have Nicole join us today. Welcome, Nicole.
thank you so much for having me, Stacey. I'm excited about this conversation.
Yeah, this is great. So Nicole and I actually met. Let me just give you a little bit of the tea. Nicole and I actually met at a conference, Rachel Rogers ROI conference in Puerto Rico, a little bit over a year ago, just over. And she and I just catch up like wood and fire. And I feel that a large part of that is just based on our spiritual grounding and belief in life being for us and the universe having our back. And so today's conversation, we will be weaving in the way that our relationship with life and the universe and the source of all things really provides us with access to creating whatever we want in boardroom, bedroom, and in our bliss space. So let's start out with hearing Nicole's boardroom journey. Nicole, how did you shift into this amazing world of financial wellness? Talk to me about that.
Of course, listen, this is a story that I tell all the time because if it wasn't for this incident that happened when I was 6 years old, this would not have been my path. So, when you growing up, family members always say to you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And my grandmother love her. She is the practical one, very practical. And I also remember as a child, and even now, my grandmother loves to talk. She's a talker in the family. My grandfather's always quiet. She always talking. And so as a child, she was always talking to me. It was only adult that really had conversations with me all the time. And
Mhm.
she said to me, Nikki, because of course, Nicole, everybody calls me Nikki. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I said to her, I want to be a lawyer because everybody wanted to be a lawyer at 6.
Yes.
And I said to her, and she was like, no, do not.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Do
Grandma.
not. She's like, them too lie. And she said, I'm sorry, lawyer friends. I don't believe you're
That's
all
funny.
right. And she said, be an accountant because I guess because in her mind at that time, it was a safe and a better path. So I believe that subconsciously I had this no accountant thing in the back of my mind. So when I went to high school, went to Wolmer's, and we got to fourth form, now we were going to choose what path we were going to take. And the natural path for me was business and accounting and all of that. So I literally from that little 6 year old mind being
Wow.
told that, oh, be an accountant. And thankfully, I liked it.
I was going to say, it doesn't always work out for people.
Exactly, but it worked out for me. And that's how I started in the space, accounting space, finances, and started my career in Jamaica with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And a lot of things happened in between, right? Veered off the path a little bit, came back to it. Always veered off, but always coming back to numbers and finances. And so that's how I got into it.
Okay. Wow. Well, first of all, I will say big up grandma because Nicole is thriving right now. Okay. And I also appreciate the story of it actually working out because I think so often we hear about parents or grandparents
Mhm.
placing desires on children that they don't actually want. And so they go down this path of a career that they don't enjoy and then they never really lean into their dreams. So for me, it's really refreshing to hear a story of the opposite where somebody says, hey, look at this. And she was probably thinking, you want to be watching them numbers,
Yeah.
right?
They own a business, right? So every day it was numbers, and I help them in the business as well. So I guess the natural path would be do something with money, right?
That is really interesting. They had their own business at the time, so they were entrepreneurs.
Yes, but listen, entrepreneurship, the way that we know it now in 2024, was not the same in those
I
days.
know.
You
Correct.
know, they had a in rural Jamaica in St. Elizabeth, and they have a shop, they have a grocery store,
Yes.
and it was hard work, right? They woke up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. They opened all day. My grandmother was home, so she took care of the home, and she also took care of the shop. My grandfather did other things too. He ran transportation from Montego Bay Airport to St. Elizabeth. And back in the day, not a lot of vehicles, so he was
Mm.
the person. And so they worked hard.
Yes.
So, and I'm not saying that entrepreneurs now don't work hard, but a lot of times it's more like ideas and brain power and getting systems together and getting things to work. It's not physical hard work.
Yes.
For them, it was physical work. And I believe that at the time, they were like, it's better to have a career than to be doing this hard
Mhm.
work that we're doing. But I know for sure that entrepreneurial mindset that I have,
Mhm.
watching my grandparents, and seeing how they operated and how they control their own quote unquote destiny. They didn't have to be waiting for an employer to pay them. They got job, they got work. My grandfather was well known, so he got all kinds of jobs to do trips to the airport and trips to do this and that. People always need food, so
Yes.
they always come into the grocery
Grocery store.
buying grocery. So they control their own lives. And so I definitely learned that from them.
Oh, that's really great points. Thank you for sharing that and such a sacred relationship to have with grandparents. I too was raised in my home with my grandparents and my mom's siblings. And I do feel it creates a different kind of appreciation for family and family values when
Yeah.
you have a wider nucleus for that home. So I love that you were able to pick up on the entrepreneurial experience in that environment, which is really beautiful. Now, you have now transitioned. You talked a lot about going into a corporate space as an accountant or as a finance person. And now you're heavily focused on entrepreneurs and supporting that ecosystem. When did that transition happen?
So that transition really happened born out of, and now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of the things that I do in my life, Stace, is about something bigger. Something like, oh, I just want to be an entrepreneur and make money. And I do want that. So don't get it twisted. But I also wanted to have the kind of freedom that a job would not allow. And one of my big reasons why is my son, Brandon. So, Brandon is autistic and he needs a lot of care in terms of therapists and special schools that he has to go to, and them cost money,
Yes.
right? And so, looking at and plus, I had a long commute where I was working, and it was just a fixed income, long commute. I wanted a better quality of life for myself and for him as well. because he used to be on the commute with me as well and used to be tired in the evenings. We had therapists coming in the home at nights. And I'm like, you know what? I want to create a life where we have more time and we do all these things during the day so that we can have the evenings to just hang out as a family and not be having to deal with therapists. And he didn't like it either. He was like, every time the therapist would come, he would look, oh my gosh, her again. And I wanted to create the kind of life that I really wanted for myself and my family.
Mhm.
And I knew that entrepreneurship was the answer,
Mm.
right? And thinking about Brandon providing the kind of life I wanted for him, the kind of like I wanted to send my daughter Alexia to college debt free. She just graduated from University
I
of
saw the picture. So
Florida.
nice.
So, wanting to provide that life for my family because I loved what I was doing. It wasn't one of those things, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get out of corporate or anything like that, but just the circumstances around it. And so that was my venture, how I ventured into entrepreneurship. Again, the subconscious, seeing my grandparents being business owners and having that, I guess, in my blood somehow, and deciding that I wanted to do this thing where I wanted to continue with finances and accounting, but I also was doing a little side thing, side hustle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was doing my own bookkeeping. And I was like, this is so hard. Like, why isn't there something easier that I can just do the bookkeeping quickly instead of trying to jump through hoops and figure this out? And then I figured it out, right? Created 5 Minute Bookkeeper and was still side hustling it. And I'm like, you know what? There has to be a lot more people who want this thing, who
Yes.
wants to be easier in a combination of wanting the freedom, wanting to make more money, wanting to have my family to have a stable life,
Yes.
also wanting to help other people because I know they're struggling. Like I
Mhm.
was struggling, right? I was listening to, oh Lord, and I don't want to forget his name, but he was talking to Jay Shetty. I was listening to the podcast. His name is Ed Milet.
Mhm.
And Ed says, you're qualified to help the person you were in the
Yes. Oh, I have a similar quote
yes.
about I was in a book writing class because I'm working on my next book. And some of us struggle with what to do, what to choose, especially when you're in a space where you have a gift and you're just have all these ideas, right?
Mhm.
And I'll never forget it. She said, write the book that you wish you had when you were struggling with this problem. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, that makes it easy.
Yeah, and that's why, and that I was struggling with that thing, and now I found this solution, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to share it with everybody because now I want them to see that. And plus, it's women and finances. We always heard the message in society, in our homes,
Yeah.
everywhere that we're not good with money. The man is the provider. He will take care of the bills. He will take care of the money. So we
Yeah.
kind of sit back and just feel like, oh, we're not good with that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you are good with it. It's just that you need something simple to
Mhm.
help you get there, right?
Mhm.
And so that's how I ventured into entrepreneurship, finding the solution and saying, I want to share this with as many people as possible.
Yes.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And I will, even thinking about myself, the first time I had that feeling was when I created my intention cards. And I have them, I travel with boxes, and so I always have them with me
Mhm.
here. But I'd never really felt like that before. I'd felt like I can help people.
Mm.
And I did so as a side hustle with entrepreneurs, helping them to digitalize their business. Because before AI and before everybody had figured out social media, like right around 2016, 2017, I had tapped into this space of helping people to transform their business through using tech. And I was really sure that this was what I was going to do, but it did not give me the same feeling as when I somehow birthed intention card. And I was like, how do I get this to everybody? How do I get people to understand that they have access to creating the lives that they want, that they are the creators of their experience in conjunction with the source that is everything?
Yes.
And I had this feeling of, if I could do this and get it into a million hands, I'd be happy. And then it was like, well, why do you have to do that for free? And at the time, I was still struggling with feeling like I should be paid for something that felt like soul work.
Mhm.
And that's when I started to really look at where I still had gaps in my poverty consciousness and scarcity consciousness, which is one of the things that you and I bonded around. And I feel that for many of the women, whether you're in corporate or in entrepreneurship, sometimes you struggle with leaning into what's truly pulling at you as soul work,
Yep.
because you have this practical work that you know you can do. You can probably get a fixed paycheck for. We
Yep.
call it golden handcuffs here on the show. And when you have children, for some persons, leaning into the possibility of something that doesn't look steady is a lot scarier than sticking with that 15th and the 30th of every month kind of cycle that sometimes you end up with.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. And I think it's also because it's so easy to us,
yeah,
right? And we feel like if we're going to be paid,
yeah,
then it has to be difficult, right?
yes. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that come too easy, man. It comes too easy. How can I charge that amount of money for something that comes to
Yeah,
me like this,
yes.
right? And I feel like that's where we also struggle. I used to struggle with that, not anymore. I used to struggle and be like, oh, it only took me 15 minutes to do this thing. Yes, but that thing that took you 15 minutes has transformed somebody else's life,
Mm,
right? What is transformation worth? What is transforming somebody's life worth? And sometimes when you think about the work that you do like that, then it becomes less challenging to charge what you believe you want to be paid, because we always have a number, we're like, oh, we're doing it for free, or we're doing it for
yeah,
$10 or whatever it is.
yeah,
We know that we really want $500 for this
yeah,
deck. You know what I mean? I really want $1,000 for this program. I really want $25,000 to for this business strategy. See, whatever it is, we know the number that we want, but we start judging ourselves and thinking people are going to judge us, right? Because we don't. So we're like, they're going to judge me. They're going to think I charge too much. And then now we talk ourselves into charging the little bit of money,
yes.
right? So yes,
So good. Girl, you're draping me up right now. Like when I used to be a regular in the non-denominational black church, and the pastors find a way to find that little spot and them
Mhm.
just preaching, and by the time you're done, you're at the altar, you have altar call.
Yes.
That's what I was just having a while ago, that moment. Really true, Nicole. And one of the things that I enjoyed after meeting you initially was when you did that challenge. And really, the challenge was, I feel, a mindset challenge. Ultimately, it was to support persons in how they're thinking about their entrepreneurs, as they're thinking about their finances, and getting them to recognize the kind of support they need, etc. But what it did for me was it really took me through the lens of financial scarcity or access to what is divinely rightfully mine available to me, looking at poverty and where that still sits in my inner being. And I really do feel that there are so many parts of me that are going through that tug of war now. And I've been using every tool. I feel like I'm in the get over poverty consciousness ICU. You know, I feel like I'm throwing all the prescriptions, all the medication, and I think is probably the most meaningful in this experience is recognizing that it's really very simply like, once that happens, once you make that switch, once that switch goes off, whether it's in your mind or in your heart, wherever there are these entanglements that no longer serve you, once you're able to navigate beyond that, it gets simpler until the next thing.
Right.
And in many ways, in my life, when it comes to abundance and financial prosperity, I can actually look back and see where I have, okay, gotten beyond this level or gotten beyond the next block. And I think my gut is just so frantic because it is excited by the possibility of shifting beyond the other things that are still blocks for me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm also present to being easy with myself
Mm.
because I tend to want to just get it done and move beyond all the stuff. But that's not the journey. That's not how you grow.
Right. And in that challenge, I feel like we spoke about the mindset and how society or the way we grow up and were taught about money, whether or not you grew up poor or had some middle class or whatever it is, there was always some negative messages around money.
Yes.
And so we grew up with that. And let me tell you something, girl, it does not go away. So even though we feel like, oh, we got over that hump and
Yeah.
oh, we are past this, the great thing about it is that for me, now I recognize it quicker. As
Mm.
soon as it comes in, it creeps in. I'm like, okay, poverty consciousness, that's you. I
Wow.
know, and you like put it in its place because you won't get rid of it. At least you can just put it and be like, okay, cool, I
Yeah.
hear you,
Yeah.
but this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And so you're not in the driver's seat anymore. You might be in the passenger seat, but I'm in the driver's seat and I get to do this.
Yes.
And so if we see the negative things, especially around mindset and money, then, and we know that it's there, it's probably always going to be there. So just recognize that and then continue on the path, because on the other side of that, right? On the other side of that is the knowing, right? The knowing that whatever you want, right? It's coming.
Yeah.
And so you better get ready. And I feel like a lot of people are sometimes when you're in the waiting and the patience era, it looks like it's not coming. It's taking long to come. And you and I are huge fans of Abraham Hicks,
Yes.
right? And Abraham will say in a lot of her talks, she talks about, or they talk about, just whatever you put out
Yeah.
into the universe, just know it's coming.
Yeah.
And the next thing is that sometimes we don't get what we want because we don't believe that we want,
Yeah.
we will get it. So if the goal is too big, and so now you have this mindset and you're like, oh my gosh, didn't grow up with money. The money's not coming. Why am I always struggling? Geez, I'm always at struggle. Today is the 1st of February when we are recording this, right? And it's the rent month, right? I got my email, my son's school fee due today, everything due today, right?
Yeah.
And so funny, I was talking to my mom yesterday and she said the same thing. She's like, oh Lord, tomorrow is the 1st, everything due tomorrow. That's a poverty mindset. That's
Mm.
speaking, and even though people are like, yeah, but the bills are due, but what is behind the thinking that the bills are due? Is
Yeah.
it that you don't have the money? Oh my gosh, my account is going to be depleted now because all these bills are due. Whatever it is, it's not just about the bill that's due, it's about the thing that's happening because the bills are due,
Yes.
right?
And that shift is actually one that I have seen myself make because especially in North America, I find, and Canada too, to some, North America, including US and Canada,
Mhm.
I really found that the companies, they know what's happening in your mind. And so when they're sending you these notices and stuff, they're crafted in a particular way so that you are feeling the guilt, and it's almost like the guilt and the shame are built into the wording, right?
Pay your bill or
Pay your
else.
bills. And so even when I think about what 5 Minute Bookkeeper does with allowing you to step into a prosperity and opportunity type of frame of mind,
Yeah.
it has you looking at your money, which is ultimately where a lot of persons, whether they're working as entrepreneurs or they're working in a corporate space, when you have these bills due, you don't want to be looking at the money. When people are calling you, you don't want to answer the phone. You're not trying to, because it brings all of these negative emotions, all of the negative self talk, feelings of shame and feelings of resentment. And
Yeah.
I feel that there is such a gift when you have tools like 5 Minute Bookkeeper that are welcoming you into the space of, hey, let's take a look at what's going on. You
Yeah.
have to face it to fix it.
Absolutely. And that's why sometimes for years and years and years, we sit in this quote unquote mess because we don't want to face it,
Yeah.
right? We have I call it the ostrich effect, right? We have our head in the sand and we feel like, oh my goodness, if I take my head out the sand, the reality is going to hit me in the face. Well, guess what? At some point, you have to get your head out of the sand. Why
Mm.
not get it out now?
Yes.
Right? Immediately so that you can start making the changes. And as you said, you have to face it to fix it. So if you're not facing it, it's still over there deteriorating,
Yes.
nothing happening, and you have to eventually somehow fix it.
Yes. And there's so many layers to that. I remember when I was at ROI last year and I went to the Daniel Leslie talk. She was there with a few other very successful now CEOs in the entrepreneurial space, multimillionaires, right? And
Mhm.
she was talking about looking at her money every day as one of her habits. So every morning when she's getting her day started, she goes and she checks all of her accounts. And it's something that I actually started to do last year. It's more of a habit now, where sometimes if I don't do it for a few days, I actually, oh, I should have been looking at my money today. And it was a good setup for me, even getting into, I need to get 5 minute bookkeeper space, because for a long time I have felt like, well, I'm not a finance person. I'm
Mhm.
not an accountant. I don't understand what these phrases mean. And when I feel like I'm not adept to something, it creates a bit of fear and it affects my whole experience as an entrepreneur. I
Yeah.
don't want to have to figure out which column to put what in. That's not my jam. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing too. I say all the time, we all should be budgeting. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you work a job, whether whatever it is, everybody's afraid of this B word,
Yes.
right? And I'm like, no, but they are every successful company,
Mhm.
right? Every Fortune 500, Fortune 100, whatever it is, they have a budget and
Yes.
they stick to their budget. And every time you need something, you're like, okay, is this, you want to invest in something? Is this in the budget?
Mhm.
Run your home, like, right? Your personal life, your own business, even if you're a small business, even if you're a solo entrepreneur, which is how most of my clients who use 5 Minute Bookkeeper are solo entrepreneurs. You want to see what's happening with your money, know your numbers, even if it's not pretty yet, even if you're in the red, you can, if in order to get it in the black, 9 times out of 10 is just looking at it, being in the red, and plan,
Yeah.
figuring it out. Do I need to increase my prices? Do I need to change what I'm doing because this thing that I'm doing over here not making no money? Whatever it is. But if you just keep going and having your head in the sand, those ideas and those strategies will not come to you because you don't really know what's really going on in
Mhm.
with your numbers. So money, finances, numbers, I know we get this feeling around it, but when you master it, let me tell you, it is the best feeling ever. And you will definitely see the changes in your numbers, right? In your money.
Just based on that. No, that's excellent. Thank you so much for jamming with that conversation. I feel very passionately about this space. And one of the things that I recognize is how much feeling as though we are or we have the divine right to a prosperous life, usually based on financial prosperity.
Mhm.
One of the things that happens, as you said, is that it shifts all other areas of your life. I find the same thing happens also with love, or happens with, I think maybe less so health, but between love and your financial prosperity, I find that when you are able to step into the belief and then the knowing that you have the right to have this amazing experience,
Yeah,
it opens you up for creating the same kind of belief in what tends to be another challenging area. I do find that those are the top areas that people get coached in, right? It's money or it's love, health and wellness. And I feel it's because these are the core aspects of our being experience. And so it unlocks something in us when we're able to create the thing that we want in one of those areas.
for sure. for sure.
Yeah. So talk to me now about our bedroom space. So we're shifting from boardroom a bit into the bedroom space. It is going to be February when this goes out. And
Okay.
yes, absolutely love month. And I feel that your situation in particular is one where you have children, you have an autistic son, you have a relationship that is supporting you. How has that been in terms of really shoring you up and making you feel empowered to step into some of the more challenging aspects of being entrepreneur?
So it is so, so important to have a supportive partner. My husband, Barry, is a silent part. I call him a silent partner, right? He doesn't love the spotlight. He doesn't do social media. But he is the kind of person who he's 100% solid. So this is, I know for sure that I could not do this without his support.
Mm,
And so having an autistic son, having our daughter, she graduated high school in the middle of the pandemic.
wow.
We had all, I launched my business in the middle of the pandemic.
Wow.
Our autistic son started Zoom school in the middle of the. Imagine this volcano erupting in the middle of the pandemic. It just started like a few months before, and having someone who is I got you, right?
Mm,
And sometimes that's all you need, right? Because if you're trying to launch a business, you're trying to take care of the kids, you're trying to make sure you're the mental health, especially of my teenager, because this is the biggest year of her life.
yeah.
It's graduation, right?
Yeah.
And she wasn't able to do it, to walk the stage, to do all the things, no prom, no this, no that.
Wow.
And I mean, listen, in the grand scheme of things, that is not even important, but it's important to them, right?
Yes.
And her mental health was affected by it, being in the house all the time, not seeing her friends. And so we had to together navigate that plus launching this business.
Mm,
I don't care what anybody says. When you get to a certain point in your relationship, if you are pulling one way and your partner is pulling the other way,
yes.
it makes it so much harder, so much more challenging, right? If he didn't say, okay, I will take care of us while you focus on your business, right? So
Yeah.
at nights I was doing the business, he was taking care of Brandon and just making sure that everything was okay while I was building this business. I just think it's so important to have that person, your person, who is you're the rock sometimes, they're the rock sometimes. You know what I mean? And I feel like it that has been one of the main things, one of the intangibles, as people would like to say, of helping us to get here where we're at 3.5 years in. We've done over 1 million in sales. Our kids are thriving. Our daughter has graduated. Brandon is doing amazing. So yeah, that is love and relationships so important for me when it comes to building this empire that I'm working on.
Oh, that's excellent talk because when you started out by talking about him being solid, when you said that, it put me in the mind of the song, which I literally went to go look up the lyrics because I thought it was so relevant. And in many ways, it's how I feel now about my honey boo and just the experience of love that I have been gifted. And it's India Ari's Steady Love. I don't know if you know it.
Know that one.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna send it to you, Nicole. You're gonna fall in love with it. It is, yes, it is so, so good. When she came out singing this song, I think largely because of her singing about not having love and wanting, remember that wanting that love from brown skin days.
Yeah.
She was singing just the desire, and she seemed to have found that in her current relationship. So when she released her last album a couple of years ago, Steady Love is what came out. And just a couple of the lyrics from the song, the way he looks at me when he holds my hand, he wants everyone to know I'm his woman and he's my man. We can talk about anything. He's got nothing to hide. He's not afraid of his feelings. He's not a slave to his pride. He's given me love so steady. He touches my heart. Now I'm ready. He touches my soul and my spirit. He's giving me love so steady. And that I feel she found a way to describe the thing that many of us are seeking, man or woman.
Yeah.
We're seeking a love that is like this.
Yeah. It's not inconsistent. It's
Yeah, you're not
not up
really,
and down all over the
yeah,
place.
you
Yes.
don't feel like you can. And for many of us that are stepping into entrepreneurship, I know for me, that was a huge, how you say, moment of exhalation,
Yes.
because you feel so much freedom to create and freedom to lean into the unknown and the uncertainty
Yeah.
when you have that steady love representation at
Yes.
home with you. And then for the kids, if you have children, to be able to see that and to understand what that looks like, priceless.
I was just gonna say it is because a lot of people we don't talk enough about the non-toxicity or the non-toxic really. It's always like toxic, toxic this, toxic that. How about the ones that are it might just because it be just because it's kind of boring, it doesn't get as much airplay, but seeing relationships that are, as I said, steady, that are
Working.
working together, a partnership, all of that. I feel like that is more important than the kids having, or not most more important, but it's important for them to see that kind of steadiness in their lives for them too, right?
Yeah.
And then go out there and say, and be able to recognize as soon as it comes that I don't want that. I'm not used to that. That's not how I experienced my parents' relationship,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm hoping that it rubs off and that they will look for situations or be in situations that are calming to their spirit
Mhm.
and just making sure that they're not. One of the things I also wanted to say is being in a relationship with somebody who allows you to be yourself,
Mm. Yeah.
right? And it's not necessarily not allow me. It's not like anybody can stop you from being yourself, but that person who vibes with you, who knows that okay, this is the way she is, this is how she grooves, this is how she does her thing, and that's her way. Doesn't It's not always perfect, but you
Yes.
have a person who is like, okay, this is how she is, and lets you be. There's no conversation, there's no negativity, there's
Yes.
no negative energy around how you are, and how, because at the end of the day they know you, right? And
Yes.
it's that you always come out on top, right?
Yes.
So yeah, just giving you that space to be who you are and go through the motions. And I love that too
Yeah.
about being in a relationship with Barry. It's okay, this is how you're gonna do it. I might not agree 100%, but I'm here to walk this path with you, right?
Yes. You said a word there that is oftentimes used in the boardroom space, which is the actual word space. Being in a relationship that allows you to take up space in that relationship
Yes.
is
Yeah.
so important for us
Yes.
to feel like you can be yourself. And it took a while, I think, for me to accept or even understand and appreciate that I can be myself, even when that self is total crap.
Yes. Yes. That's it. Because being yourself is not necessarily being perfect all the time and doing exactly what they think. And that's why I say allowing you to be yourself, because you could be like a little dumpster fire happening over there, but it's like they're like, okay, I support you in your dumpster fire because I know that this is something that you have to go through. And again, I know you know how to take care of yourself. I'm not gonna come in, try to save the day, try to, tell you what to do kind of thing.
Yes,
Right.
no, that's really good. That's
Yeah.
really good. I actually have a card here that I want to share that is very suitable for this part of our conversation. And the podcast is actually brought to the airwaves by Epic Intention Cards. And I always like to, if I can remember, to share a card on an episode. So since we're talking about love, yeah, this card is I Choose Love.
Yes. I love.
And I'll read the affirmation on the card. It says, I focus my attention and on thoughts of unconditional love, kindness, compassion, and joy towards my spiritual love partner and create the possibility for a love that serves my highest self.
Mm, love that. I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. Feel good. Feel good. Feel good. Okay. All right. Now we've talked about boardroom and bedroom. We're going to slip into the conversation about bliss. So, in the Balanced Lady Boss world, bliss is all about wellness and self care. And you and I have talked about different ways that our health is shifting and changing as we have gone through different levels and stages in our lives. What are you doing now to really give yourself the best care that you can?
Okay, so this maybe I would say 6 months ago, this answer would have been different,
Okay.
right? For me, self-care looked like going to Gen Care every week or every other week, getting a massage, getting a facial. It's been a long week. When you're an entrepreneur, you work sometimes 24/7 because you're the CEO, COO, CFO, doing all the things, right? So you're always you like for me, I never felt like I unplugged, right?
Okay.
So that was me unplugging and that was great, right? Great to take care of myself, get the foot shawl, my hand shawl, face shawl, every shawl, right? Doing all the things. But in the past 6 months, I've been diagnosed with a an autoimmune condition.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I found out about the diagnosis, I actually was on a Zoom with one of my clients, and
Mm,
she is a health and wellness coach.
mm, mm.
She's my client. I work on her accounts, her finances. So we weren't talking about health. We were talking about her business. But the call came in about the autoimmune condition, and when we got off that call and I mentioned to her because I also knew she worked in that space, right?
Mhm.
And she said to me, "We can help you with that."
Oh,
Right?
look at universe.
Listen, girl, the universe just they'd be like, "Listen, this is like a smack in your face. It's not
Yeah.
like a whisper. It's like a smack."
Oh, look at that.
And it was like, and I think about that all the time. I'm like, she was on the call with me. And so we started working together, and I had some issues with constipation and stuff like that. And it's been going on for years. And she said, that's one of the contributors of an autoimmune condition
Oh,
because
yeah.
the toxins don't get out of your body properly. And
Right.
so it basically recirculates in your body. And
Right.
so you have to heal that part. You have to literally go to the foundation, heal your gut, and then you'll be able to take care of the other conditions. So for 3 months, 90 days, I went on a juice feast where
Oh,
I had only juice for 90 days. And let me tell you, it is the best thing that I could have done for my body, for myself.
wow. Wow.
That was the ultimate self care. Let me tell
Wow.
you. And of course, in the beginning, it was very difficult because you're like, oh my gosh, you can't eat the oxtail and rice and peas and all of this stuff. You're just drinking juice. But at the same time, I had to focus more on my health than my immediate gratification or,
Yes.
instant gratification with the food that I'm used to eating. And so that healed my gut. I
Wow.
constipation issues gone, feeling much better. A lot of the pain that I used to have, except for a flare here or there, a lot of the pain that I used to have, I don't have it anymore. My husband used to be helping me to get out of bed in the mornings.
Wow.
All the pain, how bad it was. And now being able to like jump out of the bed and no issues, it's girl, let me tell you, when you're in pain and then you're not in pain anymore,
Yes.
the best feeling ever. And so that's the ultimate self care and continuing to focus on my health. And of course, I do all the other things. I have an appointment with Jen Care this Sunday, so I still do those. But I also think about how do I care for my body, like my inner body, not just the
Yeah.
outer, but
Yeah.
and so I'm continuing on that journey. I'm not only doing juice anymore, but I'm doing healthy, being more mindful of what I put into my body, healthier foods,
Yeah.
making healthier choices. And I think right now in at this season
Yeah.
in my life, that's the ultimate self care.
That's just, mm, yeah. 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 You hit all the notes there, Nicole, really. Really, you did. And thank you so much for being so vulnerable with us and sharing that. I feel that many of us as beings are struggling, are suffering in silence with inner body issues,
Yeah.
and we do not talk about it for whatever the different reasons are. And it's really healthy for us to have these conversations because there may be somebody else that needs the help or needs the support and is just looking for somebody that they can identify with and say, okay, I'm not the only person out here talking about this, or I'm not the only person. And when I look at commercials, like especially when I travel, I'm in Bermuda now, as you know, and I tend to watch more television when I stay in hotels, especially for extended periods of time. Like once I'm in a hotel for a week, you can know I'm going to get caught up on TV. Usually I don't need to watch cable because I'm doing all other kinds of things. But I just noticed how many more pharmaceutical commercials there are on television. It is fascinating to me. I mean, like it's to the point of worry. I'm like, why is there so much medication?
Yeah.
And they make it sound so good. And then you just hear the long list of all the other things you're going to get when you don't take the line. You got deaf, you can't walk, you got dead, you know?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that there are still practitioners out there. And I want to make sure that I also get her information because based on my background, I would have gone liquid vegan and worked with a health practitioner when I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mhm.
And we're consistently looking for persons are always coming to me, oh, do you know somebody that does this or do you know somebody that does that? So I'd be happy to share your health coach's information as a part of that for sure. I'd love to do that. Okay, this is great. So we're wrapping up. I have our final question for our show today, and it is a question that every guest has to answer.
Uh-oh.
It's a good one. It's a good one. If you could share one quote or song or scripture or statement that really helps to motivate you or move you through moments when you're feeling out of balance, what would that be?
Oh my goodness, I love this question. I've never heard it before from you, but I have a quote, and it's not exact, but many, many years ago, when I ventured into entrepreneurship, I started out in network marketing.
Mm,
And we used to do a lot of, let me tell you something, network marketing does a ton of personal development. If
mm,
you want to be properly personally developed, you go join a really good network marketing company, right? And so that's where I learned about Jim Rohn, who is one of a motivational speaker.
yes.
And Jim has a quote that says, let me see if I can, I don't want to say it wrong,
No,
right?
that's fine. That's fine. I listen to Jim Rohn actually sometimes on my YouTube.
Okay, yes, love him. Okay, let me read it for you. It says, we must all suffer from one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons.
Oh, wow.
And so that is one of my favorite quotes because, especially when I'm thinking, oh, I don't feel like, and listen, we always don't feel like doing
Yep.
something. We don't want to, sitting in front of the TV with some fries and a burger in my lap is the ultimate not doing anything, don't want to do
Yeah.
anything, leave me alone. But I would think about all the things that I have to get done, whether in my personal life, in my business, for my health, whatever those are. And I think about the discipline it takes to do it. The discipline it took to do 90 days of juicing, let me tell
Yeah.
you, right? But guess what? At the end of the day, the results are amazing.
Wow.
And when you think about not being motivated or not wanting to do something, you think about the end result, right? Will being disciplined now yield positive results later? Or will I regret, will I do what I want to do and then regret it later and then maybe have to, excuse me, do it over or do it at that time when it's like out of your control or, and just think about let's come back to the finances. It's the same thing. Let me keep my head in the sand. Let me keep my head in the sand for a while, right? And then when you finally take it out, whether you take it out now or you take it out later, is it going to weigh tons or is it going to weigh ounces?
Mm.
So you have to think about that.
Thank you so much for that, for sharing it and for explaining how it can impact us in different ways. And of course, thank you for joining us on the Balanced Lady Boss Show. This conversation was epic.
I know, I love it.
Feel like I got some life breathed in all parts of my mind. It's like, yes, boardroom, bedroom, and bliss have been served today.
Yes.
Amen. So thanks, Nicole. Ladies, I'm sure that Nicole will love to have you join her community. So I will be sharing all the different places that you can follow Nicole at 5 Minute Bookkeeper. She's on Instagram and she also has her own website, Design Your Wealth, which of course I feel is something that we are all doing in one way, shape, or form. So you definitely want to check her out. And she's also on LinkedIn. So all the different places you can find Nicole will be added to our show notes. Take care until next time. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Stacy.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for another epic of the Balanced Lady Boss Show. It really means a lot to know that you have chosen to join our community and to listen in to all the insights and gems that are dropped by my guests, or if it's just me on our episodes. And of course, to show our appreciation, we want to make sure that we're providing you with value-added resources. And you can check those out on our landing page, balancedladyboss.com. Now, for those of you who want to make sure that you are staying up to date with all the latest, you want to hit that subscribe button. And there's more. You want to check out our YouTube page. Just look for Stacy Hines on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the videos of the Balanced Lady Boss Show epics. That's right. All our guests, well, most of them, have chosen to allow us to video record these epics. So you can check those out on our YouTube page, along with other useful insights about living an intentionally balanced life. Stay tuned, guys. There's more goodness to come from the Balanced Lady Boss Show. Take care.